Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining in today. I'm excited to introduce my guest on the show today. Angela, thank you so much for joining on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Now, Angela, you're a powerhouse because you've got a few different businesses that really support fertility families. So, thank you so much for being on today. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Today's topic is we're actually going to be talking about egg donation. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit with everyone about you personally and also what brought you into this world of surrogacy?
Sure. So I am a mom of four, a stepmom of two, and my world's kind of been going like this with parenting and kids for a long time. And I realized after I was done having all my children that I wasn't done, but I was done. So I love being pregnant, but all of my children were born in 3 years and 2 months. I had twins in there. Try and do the math. So I basically was like, oh, well, I don't need any more. That was kind of easy. And I feel like I can give back in another way. So I had somebody in my family that was struggling through some things. And I thought, I wonder if surrogacy is something I could look into. And I looked into it. And I'm a big researcher, looking through things, making sure I understand. And I love the idea. And so it kind of took off from there. So I became a surrogate for a same-sex couple. And their baby boy is not a baby boy anymore. He is going to be 7.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah, 7 this fall. And then his brother, because I did another journey the year after, and his brother's, he's going to be 5. And then just last year, I was a surrogate again for a new couple, and their son is, he was born at the end of September. So I can't even, I lose track.
So around 9 months then.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's great.
Time seems to be flying. And then, so almost 6 years ago, I sort of saw a need with the agencies that were currently, active and existing in Canada, that there was things that were missing and things that really could be done better. And so I kind of jumped into this going, I used to work at the school board. I used to teach ESL and I did a lot of different things. And this is something that was just calling to me. So that's how I ended up starting this program. And now it has evolved. This year, I launched the Evolution Eggs program because a lot of my clients who come to me needing help finding a surrogate also need an egg donor. So it did take me a bit. I really wanted to perfect and kind of get everything set up and going with the surrogacy piece first. So I had a really good, solid foundation. And this year was the year. So we decided to launch it in May, actually. So it hasn't been that long. And it sort of took off to the races.
That's amazing. Well, you're incredible. Like you're doing so much. And every time we chat, it's like we're always going back and forth with all the incredible things happening. So I'm so glad. I know sometimes we think it's a little too much, but I'm glad that you're doing so great.
Never too much.
So I will say we had a bit of a candid conversation before we hit record here. And I want to kind of bring some of that up again because, coming from a place where my children are 20 and 22, egg donation is something that I always thought, I don't know, could I give up my egg and could I have kids all over the place? And, some of the information you shared was so awesome and really enlightening because there is a huge need for it. And I think, one of the big things is the myths or some of the concerns people might have on being egg donators. So maybe let's touch on a few of those. Let us know sort of what are those concerns or worries, one of people who may want to donate eggs, and maybe even shed some light on why egg donation is so important and needed.
Yeah. So, I get asked all kinds of things, and on my website, I actually have one of the myths of debunking, the actual facts of egg donation. People ask anything from, can I still have kids afterwards? Is this going to deplete my eggs? Is there any, risk factors? So we go through a very diligent screening process and information process, which is really important because we don't want to be committing to this until they really have informed consent. And it's about putting it all on the table and really making sure that they're good with that decision. There are lots of concerns people have, and then there's people coming like, let's go. Some people, I believe it's more of a frame of mind that people will come and say, I've always wanted to donate my eggs, or, because they are so young. We have, it's legal in Canada at 18, but we don't accept anybody under 21. Our foundation for this is that we believe there's a certain maturity that comes along with making this decision. And while I can legally get donors at 18, I don't feel it's ethical. And so for me, a big piece of this is going to, you remember when you were 18? Were you really in the best place to make a decision about giving away your biological, DNA? Yeah. So that's our premise on it. But realistically, the women that have come to us to be donors are the salt of the earth. They are incredible. They want to give back. Some have had kids and they're done having kids. And, because we can take a donor up to 32-ish. So yes, there's a lot of our donors, a couple of them that actually, like, I was done. So I figured I got all these eggs left over. I might as well donate them. And so they really do want to give back to people. Other donors are just like, well, you know what? I'm going through school right now, taking university. One of my girls is doing her master's, and she just feels like there's something in her that always wanted to give back to the world. And this just kind of came across one day on her newsfeed. And so she was like, huh. So she reached out to me. And from there, it started conversation. And, it was pretty amazing to meet her. She's fantastic.
Wow, that's great. Now, is this when we're doing egg donations, is it anonymous, or is it all sort of written out with who that egg's coming from, and it's open-ended across the board?
Yeah, so we leave it to them to decide. So ultimately, we encourage known donations. So we encourage them to at least, share who they are, because part of the profile that intended parents will read, basically it talks about her and her personality and the things growing up, and anything from like, what did she love to play with as a child, to how was your teenage years. And for most of our parents to be, they actually really want to know. What personality is so important to them, but really it's just health and genetics, and sometimes they're looking for specific physical features, but they really just want somebody who is just a great human being. And anybody who offers to be a donor is a great human being, who's healthy and able to do this. But we do encourage known donation just so that everybody down the road has more options. That doesn't mean we won't take someone who wants to truly stay anonymous, but all of our donors so far are known and prefer that. Most of our intended parents are actually the same too. And so they it's not a crazy expectation about what's to come. It's, connect them through email, have a conversation, maybe do a Zoom call and meet, and then they donate. Maybe
Amazing.
they stay friends, maybe they chat once in a while. And that's about it.
That's great. Well, since you brought that topic up, maybe we can go over what that kind of looks like, just to help anyone out there that might be listening and considering egg donation. They may think this takes, a ton of time, and maybe they have to pump themselves up with medicine. So maybe you can share about, I send you an email, Angela, I want to donate my eggs. What happens?
So when we get an email from somebody or they fill out, like, there's a questionnaire, an initial, do you qualify? Just click, very simple. Or they can straight up go and fill out the application. And the application does take some time because there's lots of things we ask. It could take up to 30 minutes or so to fill out the application. But if it comes to us, basically what we do is we go through it. I have an IVF nurse that I work with in the program, and she helps go through it. We talk about any questions or concerns. If we need to, we go to our medical doctors and, double check things. Then we set up a consult. So we basically say, hey, you know what? It looks great. Let's go ahead and set up a consult. So then we do a Zoom consult. We actually get to meet. Melanie is my IVF nurse. She will go through her application, any concerns or questions. She'll go through the process. She'll talk about medication. She'll talk about all of the things that she needs her to really understand about the importance of doing this and the commitment. And then I talk about the legals, contracts, counseling, reimbursement, so how they get their expenses paid for. I go through all of those things and support. Yes, once they're done that, we have a pre-medical screening process. So we would send them to one of our clinics, or we'd have requisitions sent from our clinic to them to do a couple of things. So they would do AMH, so it's just blood work. AMH is the hormone we're looking for that stimulates follicles. So it's telling us, would you potentially have lots of eggs, basically. Then there is infectious disease screening that Health Canada requires. And then there are things that are a little bit more involved, like genetic carrier screening. So we like to do all of this ahead of time because it can take up to a month to just get all those results back. And the carrier screening, basically, we take that and we compare it to the couple who's potentially going to match with you, and we make sure they line up. So if there's any, so let's say she's a carrier for cystic fibrosis. Even if she's a carrier, that doesn't disqualify her unless the intended parents are also a carrier. So there's a genetics counselor who gets involved and talks to them. So up to that point, I would say it's about a month. And then from there, we put them on the database and people go through, and when they finally match, we connect them. And then basically they go in for an ultrasound. We do counseling, legals, and then they're ready to go. So that might be another month. So 2 months-ish, and then they can cycle. So it doesn't take a crazy amount of time. There are some hormones that they have to take. There are some medications involved, but the process itself to do the actual egg retrieval is not very long. So from the time you start to the time you retrieve, it's definitely less than 2 weeks usually.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Well, it's definitely something that, we talk about as a miracle, because it's crazy that science has brought us to a place where we can actually do this and support families who want a baby so bad and we're not able to be successful. So that brings me to, who are the people that are being helped? Who are the ones looking for the egg donations?
So we have all walks of life. So we have same-sex couples, of course, for obvious logistical reasons, they cannot. And we have older women who may have passed that stage of good quality eggs that want to complete their family or start their family because for whatever reason they're older now and they can't use their own eggs. We have some that have serious medical issues that it would be dangerous for them to do a retrieval. So there's lots of different reasons why. We have some with a condition called MRK who they're never born with the ability to carry. They have no uterus. And for whatever reason, there's subsequent consequences to that, why they can't use their eggs. There's lots of different reasons. We have a lot lately who have been trying to have their own baby for years. And finally, they're just like, look, I just want to be a parent. I don't care how we get there, but I am tired of trying for years. And it is really, it's unfortunate and sad. Just this morning, I had a call with somebody who has just been through so much and she's done. She was like, you know what? I want to be a mom. She has one child already and she wants a sibling for her. And it's just to the point where she's like, I know my chances with a donor are going to trump, across the board as opposed to me trying with my own eggs again. And I really just want to have a baby. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It really is such a gift to be able to do this for others. It's, it's not just giving them a scarf. This is giving them a child, someone to love and to be mom and dad or parent to. So it's really an incredible thing that you're doing. So thank you. So in the event that someone watching or listening does want to talk to you a little bit more about what this looks like and if they would qualify, how do they reach you?
So they can go right to our website, evolutioneggs.com. There's lots of information. There's a whole drop down with the egg donor process, and we do walk through that quite a bit. There's, the facts, the myths, all those kinds of things. They can double check. Maybe they've got a question about their egg reserve or what happens after, any side effects. So everything's there. And then there is an apply now at the very top that drops down and says become an egg donor. And they can click on that link and they can send me an application. And within, 24 hours, we always get back to everybody after we had a chance to review it. And then we try and set up a consultation with them.
I love that. Now, I will include your website and how to reach you in our show notes. But before we wrap up, Angela, I want to put you on the hot seat and ask you a question, a personal question. What do you know now you wish you knew then before you had kids? Anything, any topic. And I know there's probably a million things.
Before I had kids. Well, I think when I had kids, I learned how to chill out. Surprisingly, people think it's the opposite. But for me, I was kind of a high-strung person who went around in circles, and I probably still am in certain ways, but my inner part is super chill. And I think I wish I had known before kids, and it was kids who actually calmed my center, because I always had to be their center in life. And I think for me, it would have been good to know this is not a big deal. Like, chill out. There are so many things about being a mom or being a parent that it's just, you start to go, meh, it's not that big a deal. And I think I would have just been more relaxed in my 20s when, life hit you. Because now I'm just like, me, it's very relaxed, and my kids have taught me that. So I'm trying to teach them that.
It's amazing what our kids teach us inadvertently, right?
It is.
That we, especially when it comes to pregnancy, birth, and babies, you cannot control anything. And just when you finally figured it out, they're changing on you anyways. So it's such great advice to give parents to just cool off a little bit and not expect too much from them. So that's great advice. Thank you so much, Angela. I'm so happy to have you on. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And I will put your contact information in the show notes. And if you're thinking about being an egg donor, please reach out to Angela. She's so knowledgeable, and she's going to be a great support to at least answer your questions and maybe get you started. Thanks, Angela.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.